Hello, my name is Pamela Arora and I'm the CEO of AAMI, and I'm here today with Dr. David Classen, who just completed hosting a fabulous event on augmented ingenuity, AI, artificial intelligence for patient safety. Gathered a very engaged group of people. And it was across the continuum of care. It was fabulous. But it also had where the opportunities were as well as where we're already seeing the benefits.
Right.
What did you think of the outcome of the conference?
Yeah, the conference was intentionally cross-cutting, bringing people from a variety of different backgrounds and experiences and capabilities, both within artificial intelligence, from the vendor community, from the research community, from the academic communities, as well as patient safety experts from all those communities as well. And the conference was to bring together two groups that could really help each other. Patient safety, based on recent publications, is an area we've been struggling with for 25 years in healthcare and really have barely moved the needle. Latest studies suggest we're still injuring 1 in every 4 patients in hospitals. And these are the best hospitals. A recent study in the New England Journal showed from 11 Harvard teaching hospitals, almost a quarter of every patient admitted was injured.
Well, with the metrics prior to COVID, it looked like it was starting to get better.
Yes.
It seems that COVID really detracted from the
Exactly.
direction.
Patient safety had been making some improvements, especially in the reduction of hospital-associated and healthcare-associated infections.
Right.
But as we had a presenter from the CDC who leads the NHSN, Dr. Bennin, presented, when the epidemic arrived, the number of healthcare-associated infections went up quite a bit. So we lost a lot of the gains that we'd made. But I think the other problem is that we haven't had good measurement systems for patient safety to know how many people are getting injured. But recently we've had new ones developed, and they look at the problem and say, all your effort really hasn't led to significant improvement. And in some cases, we've gotten worse recently with the epidemic. So patient safety is just an enormous opportunity that could be helped with the use of AI and other advanced analytics techniques. And that was the purpose of the Congress, to bring these people together across different specialties and continuums to find ways to leverage AI to improve safety.
Well, it impressed me, not only did you assemble physicians from across the U.S., but you had regulators there, you had associations. It was pretty impressive, the group you brought together.
Yeah. To solve this problem will require a very wide range of, if you will, individuals. We had a lot of health systems here, we had a lot of researchers in patient safety here, we had a lot of vendors here.
Absolutely.
And we also had a lot of government people here. We had CMS here, and we had CDC here, and we had the FDA here, and we had ONC here. As well, we had a lot of patient advocates here, right? And they always bring a completely different perspective that you just don't get. And
really
so
ground us in that path to the patient.
They really ground us in this particular area. And then we had experts basically across many of the disciplines in medicine, from surgery to infectious disease to ambulatory care, and experts in that area. And so it was intentionally a wide group of people because solving safety is going to require everybody's input.
Absolutely. Well, we had some interesting discussions around standards development, and
Right.
as you know, AAMI is a standard development organization. The way AAMI looks at it is there's the development, there's the adoption and application. Do you want to talk a little bit about how AAMI, or any SDO for that matter, fits into the scheme of things as far as helping this along?
Right. The importance of standards are just illustrated by the challenges with artificial intelligence, right? We have seen what an incredible interest they have developed, how much work is currently going on in the area of artificial intelligence, but we've also seen that in order for that work to help and not harm, we're going to have to develop IT standards and other software standards that apply to artificial intelligence. And the government's been hesitant to do that for a variety of reasons. When electronic health records came out, there really wasn't a whole lot of interest in regulating them and putting any standards up around them. But suddenly the attitude has changed. And now there is great interest in creating standards around artificial intelligence, which a lot of which will be used in electronic health record systems. So we're revisiting that issue, if you will. And basically, AAMI has been developing standards in the IT arena for 20, 25 years, a long time. And they've been doing it mainly for companies that are in the regulated medical device space. But as software becomes a bigger and bigger part of all medical devices, those standards are now moving over into the software area. And they will be required to move into the AI area. We know this will happen. And so AAMI, because it's been doing this for so long, engages so many stakeholders around the country and around the world, and because AAMI has been basically developing standards that the FDA uses on a regular basis, they're very well attuned to being able to create standards that are relevant here and to involve all the necessary stakeholders in doing so. Right?
I agree.
And which they have done for years. I mean, any company around the world that is creating any sort of regulated device is involved with AAMI.
They are, and it's many times adopted globally, which is quite exciting. Let's talk a little bit.
And just to add to that, AAMI basically either is involved with or running many of the ISO standards groups around the world and the IEEE. So AAMI really has been involved globally for most of its life, right?
Absolutely, and we're north of 55 years now.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about the ANSI AAMI HIT 1000.
Right.
You've been a co-chair of that with Jess Ehrenfeld,
Right.
American Medical Association. Let's talk a little bit about what those standards are about and how they can also springboard AI.
Yep. So EHRs, electronic health records, and other data systems have been sort of exempted from standards by the FDA and the 21st Century Cures Act and a variety of other acts. And so basically there aren't really any specific standards when it comes to software standards that either EHR vendors or EHR users had access to. And so AAMI responded to that need by creating a set of voluntary standards that would apply to both vendors and users. And that's a real delight to hospital CIOs, because when they think of safety standards, implement them, they really haven't had good standards that were relevant to them to implement in their organization. And so that's why these standards were created. And AAMI took a very unique approach at the beginning of this process, was to say, traditionally we develop standards that apply just to the developer, to the vendor. These standards said, we know in healthcare that a lot of users take the vendor software and highly customize it. So because of that, and so sort of unique in the industry, we can't develop new standards, the HIT 1000 standards, that just apply to the vendor. It must be applied to the user. And AAMI took advantage of an Institute of Medicine report I was involved in about patient safety and IT that said, we need to create a new model that has shared responsibility for this software between the vendors who develop it and the users who customize it. So AAMI went down the road of creating a life cycle approach for these standards that had never been used before, at least in health. It had been used in aviation, but not in health. And it really was a trend-setting thing. And we will find they're very valuable. And at this meeting, many have called with AI for standards that apply, if you will, not only to vendors, but users. Shared responsibility for this particular safety oversight was clear, I think, again and again.
Some of the most progressive solutions kept calling to that shared responsibility.
Absolutely.
And how it was just critical to being able to be effective.
And this is going to be especially true in AI, because in AI, the stuff that a hospital gets off the shelf may have such bias and drift in it that they have to customize the software on their own data sets. And we may get to that standard where every hospital takes a vendor product and has to re-customize it to its own data set, which means every single AI application will probably be site-specific.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that tool you had as far as the test data and testing things in one's own environment? Because if you've seen one academic medical center or community hospital, you've seen one.
Exactly.
Everyone is different.
Exactly. So basically, the only real regulation that occurred in EHRs was the Office of the National Coordinator developed standards for vendor software for the Meaningful Use Program. So in order for a hospital or a clinic to get paid the Meaningful Use Program, they had to be using ONC certified, Meaningful Use certified software, right? And basically, hospitals would often highly customize the software, so what was actually operating the hospital may have been very different than the Meaningful Use certified software by ONC. So a group of us said, we need another way to evaluate that software because we know it gets highly customized in actual use. So we developed a whole methodology that hospitals could use to test their software in operation to see if it was operating safely. And that particular test is used by almost 3,000 hospitals every year. It's now required by Medicare, and it's also required by Leapfrog. And basically what hospitals find is that very often when they test with this kind of test, it's not performing the way the vendor software performed on the shelf, so they have to tweak it, they have to improve it. So a lot of hospitals use this as a quality improvement. But it shows you, I think, where we could go with AI, which is, yes, the FDA can certify AI software on the shelf, but we should also certify it and study its safety performance at the site where it's being used.
In the wild, in the
environment
it's running.
Exactly, and that's just the whole idea of AAMI's lifecycle standards, where
Absolutely.
both vendor and user are required to certify the software.
There was some exciting collaboration with the CHI group, and I thought it was quite positive that they had test labs.
Right.
But it's a yes and.
Yes.
Test labs to test things out initially, but you also need to test them in the wild, so there's going to be a need for that.
Absolutely. I think the CHI group will learn, as many of us have learned, that yes, you can test the software on the shelf, but you better be testing the software in operation because it was always highly customized. Once you've seen one vendor software in one organization, you've seen vendor software in one organization because every organization customizes their health IT software.
Well, one thing that warmed my heart through this whole event is just how much everybody got out of it that participated. And on top of that, you had some very great news to share with the participants today. Do you want to let the AAMI folks know about it?
Yeah, with respect to the conference Continuum?
Yes.
So basically, Robert Wood Johnson has graciously been funding this conference, but it was a one-shot deal. And so the University of Utah, the University of California, San Diego, and Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Pittsburgh have agreed to continue this collaboration going forward by funding it themselves and agreeing to continue this really important intersection of AI and the healthcare world that is necessary, I think, for us to achieve the benefits in AI. So that is great news. And I think we may even get a government organization to join this collaboration as well.
Excellent. Well, it was a pleasure and it was an honor to participate. Thank you so much for your time, David.
Thank you so much. It was so great to have you come and speak, Pamela, and look forward to our work together.